Welcome to today's episode of the Business Spotlight, powered by Payrock, where we shine a light on the incredible people that make our community thrive. Payrock is a payment solutions provider. We work with any size business improving payment acceptance efficiencies while reducing overall costs. On today's episode, we have Shawn Cooksey. Shawn has been part of the Silver Fox family for many years. We're going to talk about her experience at Silver Fox and the future of this iconic restaurant in our community. Shawn, thank you very much for joining us today.
I'm really glad to be here. It's quite the amazing story to tell, actually. Silver Fox has grown with this town. Everything about it has changed and grown just like Casper has. And just like any small town, my mom and dad moved here. And my dad was a physician assistant. And he was actually Bernard's family health care provider. And since they lived close to the Silver Fox, they hung out at the bar and met them and became friends. And my dad even did surgery on his dog. He got into his fishing tackle box and got 10 fish hooks in his face. So Bernard had Sunday afternoon didn't call a vet, called my dad. Hey, can you fix Carly? And they just hung out as really friends. They came over and played cards together. And one summer, Bernard was shorthanded and asked my mom to help him with a luncheon, a picnic.
Mm-hmm.
And
what year was that?
They moved up here in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 94.
Okay.
And once he figured out my mom knew how to cook and that she had a backbone of steel, because I think Bernard likes quirky people that are themselves. Mm-hmm. And he really respects people's individuality, mm-hmm. and he respects their opinions. And I think that's why he gets along with so many different people in this town, mm-hmm. is he really respected people and let them be their own person.
All right.
And I think that's why he had so many friends, because Bernard could be on the phone with 9 or 10 different people within an hour, checking on them, getting a fishing report, getting a weather report, getting a market report on the meat prices, talking, and gossiping like the biggest chicken hen in the entire. But no, and when my mom started working there, Carol, my mom's name is Corrine, mm-hmm. and Carol was the baker that was helping Bernard out, and the three of them started more of the catering, the professional catering, and Carol is the one that brought in 6 recipes from Southern Living. My mom read them. She picked out bacon knots.
All right.
And she said, I will make those.
The infamous bacon knots.
The infamous bacon knots. And Bernard said they tasted good. They used to make 40 or 50, maybe 90 at the most. Mm-hmm. And currently we make approximately 600 a day.
All right, 600 a day.
Yeah, just minimum. And then Christmas time, we sell around 50,000 or more just in the month of December.
Wow.
We have people that will order 900 bacon knots for a party. Mm-hmm. And we've made, the biggest we've done is, I think, the Beer and Bacon Fest. Mm-hmm. I think we did 2,000 or more for that, for somebody.
For one event.
One event.
2,000 bacon knots.
Yeah. And they're all warm. They're all perfect.
Right.
They're all tied in a little bow, lovingly patted in brown sugar.
Right.
So.
And they've always been good. Whenever I've been out there, they're always amazing. And they're definitely, Silver Fox is known for its bacon knots.
Yeah. And
sure.
Everybody keeps trying to steal. They've offered Bernard to steal. Bacon knots are in the trailer, huh? Well, I would hook up to my truck and steal them. Oh, you don't need to put those out. Just put them in the back of my car. So it's always been a running joke on bacon nuts. So
interesting. That's great. That's a great way to get started on this podcast. So let's back up a little bit. Okay. What's the origins of Silver Fox? You know, when it was created, when it started. You know, when did Bernard come up with this idea?
Well, actually, Mr. Bill Armour, mm-hmm. he was originally from Florida. And one of his best friends ran Circle D Barbecue in Florida. It was an open pit barbecue place. And this was back in, Bernard's 10 years older than me. This is back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. And when Bill Armour came to Casper, there wasn't much in the 70s. And he thought, wouldn't it be great to copy my friend's thing? And wouldn't it be great if I had my son had a job? Wouldn't it be great if his friend, Bernard, helped him run it? So the two of them actually studied with Circle D Barbecue in Florida, and then they had the Silver Fox built. Well, it wasn't Silver Fox back then. It was Circle D Barbecue with a drive-through liquor store, drive-through barbecue. And I think in the 80s, Bill Armour's son they kind of split up and stuff. And Bernard, there was all these issues. And then once all that was taken care of, when Bernard came back to do stuff with Mr. Armour, they're like, stop the barbecue. We need a place for a good steak. There's nowhere in Casper for a good steak. They redid it. They added the Silver Fox Lounge because I think Bill Armour just came up with it because he was older and Silver Fox.
Right.
He liked hunting. We had one of the things that they had was what was her name? Vivi Crandall. Actually did the taxidermy for the Silver Foxes. She's from Jackson, and she came down here a lot. She was a personal friend, and we still have some of her original artwork. And then also, let's see, Shawn, oh goodness, names escape me.
That's all.
But his family owns the recycling center. And anyway, he had some of his photography, because Bernard is always supporting local artists. And the two fly pictures. Everything in the restaurant is local because he had so many connections. And it started with Bill Armour and Bernard back in the 80s. It was all going to be local artists. The glass that we have that looks like bacon knots as you walk into our restaurant, local artist.
All right.
He doesn't outsource to any. It's all Casper people.
All right.
And Wyoming, because he always wanted it to be here. The reason we serve Pepsi is because we have the Pepsi distributor was here in the 80s first. We don't serve Coke because local. Always local.
Interesting.
Yeah, and when the recipes came up, we have the original recipes. And they're hand-typed. There's 2 copies. Lemon soup, all these Italian and French recipes and sauces. And Bernard that's why his soups are so good. Bernard was just meticulous about sauces. And so was Mr. Armour. And it was all about the sauces and the flavors and doing it correctly.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What about the name Silver Fox? Does that come because Bill Armour and
Bill Armour? It's actually Armour's restaurant and Silver Fox Lounge.
Okay.
And then when Bernard bought it from Mr. Armour, he's like, nope, it's no longer Bill Armour's restaurant. It's the Silver Fox.
Right.
And it's kind of stayed that way since. So
that's because they were hunting buddies, or
no,
to hunt.
No. Mr. Armour, I think he was in insurance and a lot of oil, and he just wanted a good steak, and he didn't want to run the restaurant. He hired Bernard to run it. So.
All right, but the name Silver Fox,
that's just
the name they came up with.
Just the name they came up with, because that's the fox that Vivi Crandall stuffed was a silver fox.
All right.
There's 2 of them in the thing, and she was a hunter and taxidermist and famous artist up in Jackson Hole. So
how has that name changed over time? Because now we see on internet and different advertising that's done, keep it foxy.
Yeah.
That's changed a little bit.
That's the bark firm.
Okay.
That was the bark firm. Bernard didn't like print ads. He didn't like ads. He didn't like the social media. He didn't understand it. He'd just throw it at us, and then we finally convinced him, you need an online presence. You need to be branded. You need to have a cohesive story to tell consistently on social media. And the bark firm came in, and Summer has been wonderful. She wore him down after about 3 years because it worked for him.
Right.
He was his own social media.
Right.
Bernard went to Sam's Club. He went to Walmart. He knew the everybody that worked there. He stopped and said hi to people. It wasn't just, he chatted with the clerks. He chatted with the people checking him out. He chatted with the people in the meat department. He would spend time actually listening and talking to people.
Right.
So he was his own social media in Casper.
Right.
And he didn't understand why he had to do more because it worked. And he was busy enough.
Right.
But with the social media presence, we have people that are traveling through, and it's become like a little thing that it pops up now. People want to have those local diners. It's not Olive Garden. It's not the chain restaurants.
Right.
They're looking for that nowadays.
Absolutely.
And it's fun. It's a fun place to stop.
Absolutely. And the bark firm is doing a great job.
Yeah.
adjusting that name to current patrons of the restaurant, but also helping maintain that nostalgia that we have forever. So they're doing both, and I think that they're doing a really good job of that.
The one way to describe our restaurant is like a Clue board.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever played Clue, you have different rooms. And if you walk through our restaurant, we've sectioned it off. You have the little dining room with the booths. You have the big dining room with just chairs. You have the intimate, romantic section. Then you have the lounge, which is its own vibe.
Right.
So there's different rooms, and people request booth 10. They request this table with the mountain view. They request, and they know they can do that.
Right.
Which is kind of, we spoil our patrons, but it's in a good way, because they want to come back and feel like, oh, somebody wants to serve me. I don't have to cook tonight. I'm not going to be overwhelmed.
Right.
So
that's great, and the experience is wonderful. That's for sure. It has that nostalgic vintage look of being one of Casper's iconic restaurants. At the same time, I see that it's catering to all age groups. And that's again a tribute to what the Bark Firm is doing for the image. So it's great. It's wonderful.
We want the people that are dressed up for going out to the event center for a concert.
Mm-hmm.
We want the prom kids that are dressed up, but then we also want the guys coming off the river.
Mm-hmm.
They feel welcome. Come and have a steak and a beer. We want you that's coming off the river. We're not, black tie.
Right.
But we are black tie.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's great. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So, what's your most memorable experience that you've been there for several years now?
Well, Bernard blew himself up one time.
How did that happen?
We were gearing up for a big catering, and he has a smoker that's gas and wood.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open the doors and you close the doors, it ignites the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
So he checked, he did everything. Well, the gas had built up. So when he went to open the doors, the igniter ignited and blew the doors off the smoker. And luckily he had stepped away like 2 seconds.
Right.
And the door cut open his hand.
Mm.
His head, he had a cut on his head. He couldn't hear because it exploded. Luckily, he parked the smoker in front of a brick other thing, and we thought a bomb went off. People called 911. They thought something really bad happened, but all it was just that explosion. There was no fire.
Right.
And sent him to the hospital. He didn't want to go. But I'm like, you cut your hand. That's your life's work. You can't just... And we called in like 4 different people. My father came and fixed the meat for Bernard. We had Gina's husband came in because he'd done caterers. And we all took over stuff. We got this 200 thing for this oil company. We didn't even tell them there was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
About 30 minutes in, everything's set up. Everything's working beautifully. Bernard shows up. Still can't hear. Doesn't have stitches. It's all taped together and stuff. And he's trying to work, and we made him sit down, and we wouldn't let him do it. But he was still sitting there going, I should be here. You got blown up this morning. You don't. So, but the restaurant was in his blood.
Right.
It was his baby. It was, he wanted so much for it to always be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It was always, nobody should see the paddling under the water. It's just that smooth duck across the water.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see the paddling.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulled it off like 99% of the time. His standards were so high.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Tell us about the unique dishes and all, the signature recipes you have. You mentioned that they're French, they're Italian, but where do they come from?
Bernard's brain.
All right.
He would go on a cruise. He went on a cruise in Florida. And he had the key lime mousse. So there's no recipe. He just said, hey, I had this. We need to make it. And we'd create it. The deep fried lobster. Mr. Armour had it one time at this restaurant in New York or something. No recipe. They just figured it out. Chicken duxelle. He made it his own sauce. I mean, there's always a cream sauce recipe. But he made it his signature way he did it.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see, what else is on the menu? Oh, the Black and Prime. I worked there. I actually moved up here to be full-time with Bernard in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was January 2015. And he goes, you know what? people are complaining about the blackening seasoning. So I went, okay. He goes, can you do something about it? I'm like, sure. So I combined, like, we just went online, found like 5 different Cajun chefs. We went through, blended a few different things based on what, 5 other chefs did, made our own signature blackening seasoning. So he was always good at giving people, here, you try it, and then test kitchen. And then his was the final decision. He'd tweak it here or there. We need a little bit more sweetness with more salt. But he was really good at letting other people figure stuff out. That's why our executive chef, Matthew Oltzman, right now, clam chowder. Bernard made it maybe twice a year. Otherwise, it's Matthew. Bernard let him own that.
All right.
And they worked together. They tweaked it, and it's perfect. Nobody else really makes it. Somebody else does now. Matthew has taught other people. But Bernard was really good about giving people ownership of a dish. And then he'd still have control over it. Don't get me wrong. He micromanaged a little bit. But it was always good that he let people spread their wings and try something. The deep fried pork chop. Bernard was like, okay, guys, we need something else. I love this pork. I like this product, but I want to do something different with it. And that's where the deep fried pork chop came out. He would have little meetings with people, get his crew together, brainstorm, and what can we do? You show me what you can do. And then he'd tweak it to his level of what he wanted the taste to. Right. So,
well, it's definitely amazing. I mean, the black and prime is just. Yeah. If you haven't had it, I definitely recommend anyone listening to this podcast to go out there this evening and have a black and prime. 'Cause it's amazing.
Yeah, there's some dentists that are addicted to black and prime, and the escargot. That's another one that they had in a French restaurant. Because Bernard would travel. His wife loved to travel, Annette, and she would drag him away from the restaurant. And the thing was, he'd always tried the nice high-end things. One of the last things he went to Denver, and they were trying some high-end restaurants. He wanted to remodel his bathrooms at the Silver Fox because he wanted the bathroom to be an experience. But there's attentions to details.
Right.
When he went to another restaurant, he was looking for how do I make it even better. And that was one of the last things he was supposed to be doing. We were supposed to be remodeling. He had it all set up, but life happened.
How would you describe the Silver Fox experience in one sentence? What is it to you, the Silver Fox experience?
It's coming in and having a relaxing time to be able to talk with people over good food. That's what we want people to do. The music is usually low enough that you come in and you feel like you have the time to sit and talk over good food. Right.
I know music is used in different restaurants for different things, and I know that sometimes it's louder and more and faster just to get people out of the restaurant. But I think that going back to the original way of doing things, where it's the conversation, it's the experience, and the food is just there to improve that experience. But it's the conversation that's important.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. He wanted people to be able to, and that's why sometimes people, if we've had comments, it's slow service. We don't want to drag your salad away and throw your entree on there.
Right.
You're supposed to be talking to the person that's at the table. The servers are wanting to not, throw you out of the restaurant.
Right.
They want you to stay and have desserts. We work really hard on these things.
Right. If you want a 15-minute experience in a restaurant, then maybe it's not your choice. You should go someplace else. Yeah. And that's what I've noticed. The different times I've been there is that you're not rushed and you can enjoy the food that they prepare.
Yeah.
So, how would you describe the relationship that Silver Fox has had with the community? Because it is an icon. It's an iconic restaurant for our community. When we think of Casper, we think of Silver Fox. It's one of those things that go hand in hand. How would you describe that relationship? How have they worked together?
That's Bernard cultivating the relationship. He's always thinking, how does Casper look better? He helped the liquor shed. They wanted to do a little kitchen addition. They bought some extra space attached to them. Bernard went and gave him ideas on how to do a little prep kitchen that would be, suitable for people to rent their space and not be overwhelming. The rodeo redid their kitchen. He partnered with Eggington's, and him went in and helped him with the design. Bernard was always willing to help and he never wanted to be charged for it. When Bernard had to shut down his restaurant during COVID, and the first thing he did was made sure all his employees were taken care of. Then he made sure that other restaurants were going to be able to make it. He reached out to everybody. He worked with the Johnson Group. He worked with La Cucina. He checked on all the different restaurants. The first thing he did was call everybody. How are we all going to make it? And that's a testament to him. Mm-hmm. He reached out to everybody. How are we going to get through this? How are we going to make it takeout? Because he didn't want anybody closing. And he really invested himself during COVID to make sure everybody made it through. And if you look around, most of our local restaurants made it through COVID, which is not what happened around the country.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, because Bernard wanted everybody to be able to work and get their unemployment and work, and he reached out during that. The other thing he always did that nobody knew about a lot, because he didn't want to broadcast, but Bernard gave a lot of money to different organizations. He donated a lot. And it was always to help different groups. He would donate, I've seen the man donate over $10,000 to certain groups. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want it broadcasted. If something was going on, I'll take care of it. The pump house. Oh, you guys don't have this, or this. I'm going to send my guy over. Oh, I found you a good deal on this. I'm going to send this person over to fix this, this, and this. Oh, you having problems with that? I'm going to send a guy out. Those people never got a bill. Mm-hmm. Bernard took care of it. He, it was his own personal money. It wasn't the restaurant. But he had a whole separate personal fund. And Annette did find his checkbook and the receipts. He kept track of everything. And he would take care of so many things. And the man was, the other thing that's so important about him is that the restaurant doesn't have any debt. He was never in debt to anybody. Mm-hmm. So he had the freedom to help others because he was never worrying about the restaurant that he had to pay loans off or anything.
Right.
Everything that he owned in the restaurant was his. So he did have, I called it his slush fund. And he'd be like, that you can't, the lemonade stands. The man went and got 20s, stacks of 20s from Jonah Bank and would go around and hit as many lemonade stands as he could. And he would just drop $100 to those kids that were out being their own boss.
All right.
And that was his thing. Oh, lemonade stand's coming. Lemonade stand's coming. And he just enjoyed giving back.
Right.
And he didn't want credit for it. Because I can say this all now because he's not here. But I kept my mouth shut for 20 years, because he didn't want people to know.
Right.
Because he was the quiet Santa Claus. Never wanted to wear the red suit, didn't want the beard. He just wanted to be in the background, and he just wanted to make other people's lives better.
Right. This is another story of those unsung heroes that we have in Casper.
Yeah.
It's amazing to hear this.
Yeah.
These things that we've never heard before.
Yeah.
We all knew and we all respected Bernard for many, many years, but there's even another side to this person that you would never have known unless you were in that position. If you were running a lemon stand, or you didn't get that phone call from the help.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Have you noticed a trend over the last few years, because you've been catering more and more to a younger generation and still focusing on the people that have been coming in for years? When did that start?
I think really it changed when I started in 2015. Some of the things that people don't understand is Bernard's always kept that high level. The white linen napkins of the catering. The actual chafing dishes that are metal, the silver platter, the bacon knots on a silver platter. Sometimes younger people were expecting us to just drop and go. And I'm like, no, that's not how we do that. We're going to stay. And sometimes Bernard would not even charge them for us to be there occasionally. And then people started to slowly catch on that it's nice to have somebody that just kind of whisks around and doesn't, you're not trying to replenish something. You're not trying to it's not in aluminum pans and you have to throw all this stuff away after the end of the night. Or you have to figure out how to box it up in your own Ziploc bags or your Tupperware. Whereas we're bring everything in, We stay around. We kind of just hang out in the background, replenish, make sure the guests are taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
We box everything up. We whisk it away. I think people are getting more used to that. We have to explain it sometimes still. But we just did a wedding, and they were like, younger couple, and they were like, wow, we're not used to this. And I'm like, you're going to be treated nice. This is your wedding. This is what we do. Okay. We're just not used to this. But we make them used to it. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
How is his vision and his passion continuing to shape the restaurant today?
That would be, we have employees. Raymond has been there he knows exactly how many days, hours, months, 30 years. He's been a server. Matthew started at age of, I believe, 18. He's the executive chef. There's just so many people that want to keep Silver Fox the Silver Fox. And we all, when this all happened, we just kind of all circled the wagons. And we wanted Annette and his children to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. It was so important to us. And there's 85 or more people that work there. That would be a huge loss to Casper. Mm-hmm. It would be a huge impact. And we all were like, we don't want to close the doors. Because Annette could have. There was this devastating thing that happened on December 1st of last year. But I think we all just had his same work ethic. We had his same vision. And we just circled the wagons and said, no, Annette, this restaurant is worth more open than closed. These people are worth more having a restaurant and not losing their jobs. And she, woman with a spine of steel, she made the decision that, yeah, let's keep going. Because it is worth more than to just close the door and let Bernard's legacy go. Right. And there's just so many people that are still, we've had people that didn't even know Bernard that are working there, but they've heard so much, so many stories, and they see the value of the teamwork that we have, that they're buying into what is now Annette's vision and Matthew's and my vision, and the people that have worked there long enough that we're still instilling that into people.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the long-term vision? And how do you see this Silver Fox in the next few years?
Right now, we're making our own little upgrades, and we're tweaking a few things. If Annette wants to keep it, great. If it's sold to somebody else, we want it to be so turnkey that they come in and they just want to make it even better. Right. And that's our vision, is to keep the Silver Fox at a level that that if somebody does buy it from her, they can come in and go, wow, I want to keep it this way. Mm-hmm. The more turnkey we make it, the more the new owner's going to make it their own. Right. And we want it to still be the essence of Silver Fox. And if we do get a new owner, they're going to put their stamp on it just like Bernard put his stamp on it. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about it with the group. We're open to that, because Casper is a restaurant like Silver Fox needs that persona, needs that cohesiveness of somebody that loves it. And right now there's all of us, but there's a core group that's running it and keeping that philosophy going. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we always want to do, is the Silver Fox is the place where you can come and talk and have a good steak and seafood and have that quiet dinner in a booth. Right. So that's what we want to keep it going. And the food, the level of food and stuff. So
if you could say one thing to Casper and the community here about Silver Fox, what would you like the community to know about what's happening over there?
We just want to say thank you for them coming out, because it's our patrons that come out that make it fun. Mm-hmm. And when we have certain people come in, like the Prices come in, and they walk in and they're like, oh, your table's ready. We got the third chair for your cowboy hat. The other customers know that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, the customers are in on the jokes of the employees and the servers. They create community just coming in and talking and sharing their stories. They know they can talk to their server. And I think other people that are at the next table are listening. And they're like, hey, we can talk to our servers. We can have a little inside joke. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of, during test kitchens at lunchtime, there are patrons that have tasted the chocolate cakes that are coming out. They've tasted the samples, and they're in on the personal side, the other side of the restaurant. So I just think it's our customers coming out and still having that relationship with the people that work there, because it's not a corporate restaurant. It's a community restaurant.
Right.
And I think we want to keep it that way, because people would come in with Bernard. He would walk around and want all the fishing reports and how was the river today and how was this, how was that. And we want our customers to still feel that way, that they can come in and talk to their servers about, hey, how's Casper? What's going on? Where are you from? And stuff. So.
Right. Well, it's definitely a welcoming environment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Shawn, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being on the podcast. And thank you to our listeners and people that watch this podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this podcast. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Thank you very much.